Hello.
Let's go.
Hello. Look at that. For the first time ever, everyone has the right webcam. Everyone has the right name.
It's
I
a
have,
milestone.
yeah. I had to take a 2-month break in order to get it done. Hi, everybody. It's Laughing Boy LP. I'm here with some guests. We're going to be doing our pre-stream Q&A session. And so if y'all have any questions that you would like to ask our esteemed colleagues here, or me, you could if you'd like to. Even if it's just like how we're doing or whatever, feel free to ask. This is just gonna be our way of like making sure that audio levels are good, making sure that all the tech is working, and then we'll go into our episode proper. How y'all doing?
I am not doing well.
Oh no.
Are you sad that Concord died too?
Yeah, that's it. Yep. I'm sad that Concord is gone.
Oh, shucks. I knew it. I
was
called it.
1 trophy away from platinum. 1 trophy.
Oh no.
The rarest platinum ever now.
It's gonna be the rarest platinum, and it's gonna be the rarest controller because I forgot it had a controller.
The controller was the best part of that game.
It did.
I
I didn't know about it until after the announcement that the game was canceled, and then I talked about it during PAX West, and somebody was just like, shame about that controller, and I was like, what controller?
Dude, I'm jealous of your Astro Bot controller though.
I know. Hold on.
That's so cool. I love that.
It's so good.
It's the best one they've ever done. It is
It really
literally
is.
the best one that they've made.
So good.
And I only say that, like, the back is pretty simple. Like but it's got my boy up there. But then just like the actual sides, like the handles of the controllers have a different feel. The whole front of the controller is glossy. They have like the cute little eye design on the touchpad. And it's just, you probably can't see with the webcam, but like you can see, hold on, let me see if I can do a little bit of camera trickery here. Maybe if I just
enhance.
All right, I guess I can't control my ring light. Anyway, you can maybe see someday. I show it off every time.
It's got like ridges or something.
Yeah, it's got little lines and designs to make it look like the actual ship from the game. So I thought that was really cool. And the only other like special edition controller I have is the Ragnarok controller. So I'm doing pretty good. What was it? I think it was the LeBron James controller. I think was still probably like the least interesting design they ever made.
The LeBron James controller.
Yeah, that one you can still buy. So
I didn't even know there was this many PS5 controllers.
There are quite a few. I can go down the list.
I'll be real. I think they did a very bad job of advertising most of these controllers because I also didn't know about any of them. Like I didn't know about I would have bought that Astro Bot controller.
So hold on. They've made. Let's see if I can. I don't have this screen anymore. I wish I did. They have the. Oh yeah. Here's. How can I?
I gotta see the LeBron James controller.
Yeah, let me show you the LeBron James controller. It's actually better than I thought. I remember it being a lot less detailed.
Oh yeah.
Here, I'll post it in our text chats. And then let me see if I can like super quick make a new scene. PC.
That's not what I was expecting.
We've been quiet this whole time.
I made a new scene.
Oh,
All right, can
gotcha.
you hear us now? You can hear all of us now.
Hello.
I think
Yeah,
they
there
can
you
hear us.
go. No, it's just because I created a new scene from scratch. So yeah, then this was the Spider-Man 2 controller was kind of cool. I felt bad because I feel like I missed out on that one. And then fucking Concord got a controller.
The Concord controller was pretty sick. I liked it.
It looks cool. It
looks
kind of
nice.
reminds me of like Sony's version of the Starfield controller.
Yes. Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
again, not particularly amazing. And I feel like that's just kind of the case with a lot of their controller designs. They even did apparently okay, I think the Hogwarts Legacy one is the worst one.
There's a
get load of
Hogwarts
that.
Legacy one?
Yeah.
It's got like the image of Hogwarts on the touchpad, I think.
It's just the image of Hogwarts on the touchpad and then some like
Oh.
little
Oh,
like
yeah.
designs on the handles. It's not
Eh.
particularly. The God of War Ragnarok is very minimalist too. It's only the design and then you get the blue and white color scheme. So like the Astro Bot controller, in my opinion, is probably the best one they've ever done. Just because they have such, it's far more detailed. It does a lot more. Oh, there's a Final Fantasy 16 one as well.
I know that. I was just about to say, wait, that one looks nice.
There's a lot.
There are quite a few DualSense limited editions, considering that like nobody has a PS5.
We point and laughing at PS5 controllers. Yes. Yes, we are.
Yeah,
They
that's pretty much exactly what we're doing.
Too bad they never went through with the McDonald's PS5 controller.
I'm sorry. Say that again. Oh wait, I see it.
What?
It was canceled.
It was it was like a mock-up from McDonald's Australia, and it ended up blowing up more than they expected it would be. But
It's
man,
kind of good though.
I was to say that's actually nice.
kind of nice.
It's actually good.
Got fries in one hand, a burger in the other, just like in real life.
Yeah. Now you can double fist while still holding on to the controller. Cram that McDonald's in your face. It's probably for the best, says the headline. Oh, this was a news story from 2021. Of course, I didn't know about that. I had other things going on. The PS5 came out in 2020. So this would have been a very early design.
Yeah. So
Sure,
funny.
chat, and just in case you're joining us very recently, we're just doing like a little bit of a just chatting session. We're doing a little bit of Q&A. So if you guys want to ask any of us any questions, let me get rid of that so we can bring our guests back in here. Ask us how we're doing, what we think about certain events that happened right before I start. Well, a half an hour before I started this stream or something like that. Want to talk about Nintendo getting litigious?
Yeah, Nintendo suing Pal World.
Funny day for Nintendo.
Why did this happen? Have to happen now? I think I was also talking with Kevin Kenson, friend of the show. Also likes to talk a lot about hardware, and this is the same day as the Nintendo Switch 2 potential photos being potentially leaked. I only say potentially because I don't know.
Wow.
You know,
We went out for sure, but
I've been fooled before. I like how like that one like PS Vita looking one shows up every now and then as like the fake system. It's like, oh, the Nintendo 2 Switch 2 just leaked, and it's like that stupid oval looking one where the entire
Oh
is
yeah,
with,
that's
like,
so
two
dumb.
joysticks.
That's so dumb. People have
Yeah,
definitely
no.
seen the Switch 2 like recently.
So
Like there's been a lot of people flying out to Nintendo for some mysterious thing.
yeah, I was hearing about that where suddenly people are just kind of like, oh, thanks Nintendo for letting me stay for a day, and it's like a lot of people are somehow
And for
getting
what?
invites. I mean, it could be for a
Flying
system.
people from all over the world
Yeah.
for something.
They made the
could it be?
I think to me, I just don't think it's a system. I feel like if it was, that they wouldn't even be able to say I was at Nintendo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also true.
I was thinking, like, I made the joke the other day. I was like, watch it was just some like Nintendo sales meeting of like, here's what we got planned for next year, and here's how we can help support you and your upcoming game, and you definitely want to put it on our systems. And it was basically probably just like a sales day, a giant sales meeting, probably the nicest sales meeting anyone has ever been to. But still, like,
Yeah.
you know, the limited run guy, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Like, he mentioned like our valuable partners at Nintendo
Yeah.
or something. I was like, this was like a sales thing, possibly, maybe.
I had also heard a lot about. Excuse me. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. Man, that burp was powerful.
Just
I
burped
just
out your
burped
entire
out
train
my
of thought.
entire thought.
It's gone now.
Well, we'll never know. We did get a question from Claxon. If hopefully I said that right. Have any of you besides Daniel played Tales of Grace's F, and are you looking forward to the remastered version? If so, which console?
I have not.
I also have not.
Claxton knows I'm a Tails guy, so
I mean, I'm a Tales guy. I didn't play Tales of Grace's at all. I have
oh really?
the PS3 version just sitting. Haven't even touched it. And that's only kind of because like when I play a Tales game, I have to take a break. And I've taken a very long break ever since Tales of Zestiria. I haven't played Berseria or the newest
Oh
one.
really?
Zestiria, I hated it. I did
Oh,
not
no.
like that game.
Zestiria gets a lot of hate for what it is, but like, so that was the last one that you played? You haven't played like Berseria or Arise or anything?
No, I played the demo for Rise. I didn't play Berseria at all. I was told that Berseria is better, but I spent like over 100 hours in Zestiria, and then, you know, other. It's not that I'm not ever gonna return to it. It's just other games came out.
You did the hardest part. You made it through Zestiria. So when you play Berseria, you'll be able to harken back to little like references that it makes, because the two stories connect to each other. So Berseria is also a much better made game in general. So I think you'll have more fun with that if you ever decide to go back to it. But Grace is it's great. It probably has the best combat of the series.
Really?
People always talk about combat. Story's kind of vanilla, but the gameplay is quite often told to be like the I'm mostly regarded as the best in the series. So I'm excited for it. I didn't expect it to be Graces. There was like leaks for Xillia to be the one that comes out, and then they do Graces. But there's a
Yeah.
whole remaster project. So this isn't the only remaster they're going to do. There's going to be more in the future by Bandai Namco, but we don't know what that is going to be. Probably Xillia, but we'll see.
I think if I did pick it up again, I would probably buy it on the Sony family of systems. I wouldn't pick it up for the Switch.
Yeah, Switch is the one that's going to be 30 FPS. Other systems will be 60 FPS. So, and I remember playing it from PS3 anyway, so I'll probably get it for PS5.
Mm-hmm. I don't even think we got the Wii version because it originally came out on the Wii, right? And didn't it get like mass recalled at some point? I remember there being an issue with Graces.
Yeah, the Wii version, it's funny because we usually get like the base version and then they release a more definitive edition later down the line. But
Yeah.
Graces F of Graces was the base version on the Wii, and then we got the Graces F is that definitive edition that we got later on. So
I'm scared of what the remaster after what happened with Symphonia on the Switch. Symphonia has been busted since time immemorial.
Oof.
I have a whole trilogy of videos on DVD channel about my whole character arc with that about Symphonia's best on GameCube, which is like the before, and then the game is so broken, which is like the best video I've ever made. Apparently, most viewed video I have on the channel, which is pretty much complaining about all the reasons why the Switch version is broken, and then the fact that they fixed it, a lot of it afterwards. I wouldn't expect that kind of disaster with Graces because Graces F was already made for an HD console, and so porting that over will be a lot smoother than Symphonia, which was never meant to be like restructured, because the PS2, even the PS2 remake of that was not as didn't run at 60 FPS like the GameCube version did. So I mean, if you have the GameCube version, I would say play that one. But yeah, I don't expect problems with Graces F at this point. You put me on full screen, didn't you?
I did, because I'm testing it out. I forgot to test the singular views.
I know very, very little about Tales, but I played like half of Symphonia. and then I've like watched a little bit of Berserker.
Berseria. I don't know why
Both
they
of
name
those.
these games the way they do, but
I mean,
they're very interesting.
yeah, I've played
like-
Zillia 1 and 2. I played Zesty Nachos. I played Tales of the Abyss.
my favorite one.
I played most of Eternia or Destiny 2 in the States.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because it was
Destiny
like an early
2.
PSP port. Yeah, so Tales of... We never got Tales of
The naming
Fantasia.
of this.
Bungie.
Let's talk about this. We never got Tales of Fantasia until the GBA, and that was the first game in the series. And then we got Tales of Destiny on the PlayStation. And then instead of giving us Tales of Eternia, they give it to us as Tales of Destiny 2. And then when Tales of Destiny 2 does happen, we don't get it. Ever. We've never gotten Destiny 2 as far as I know.
That's confusing and
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
It's very
Mhm.
confusing. There was a naming copyright with He-Man for the name Eternia, so we couldn't use Tales of Eternia here in the West, so it had to be Tales of Destiny 2. But then when the actual Destiny 2 came out in Japan, it got very confusing because there's technically 2 Tales of Destiny 2s, depending on what region you're in.
Yeah.
It was very,
Ah.
very weird.
And they've
All right,
never...
can you tell this is my niche?
I see the poster in the back!
The best. Best one.
Yeah. Oh, I played Legendia, so
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
I don't know anyone that.
I didn't do the post
What are your
game.
thoughts about? What are your
Soon-
thoughts about Legendia?
I never played the post game. As soon as I hit credits, I was like, I'm good. I'm moving on. Because it was
It's so
just, it was
funny.
okay. Like, it was
Yeah,
nothing to write home
It-
about.
the post game is like a third of the game, which is
It
really funny
is.
because the character quests never got voiced either, so they seem like just extra fluff, but it's really important to the rest of the story. It's funny because like that game is very not well known. It's the black sheep of this series because it kind of takes steps back in the series. It's like
Yeah.
Symphonia make the leap forward to 3D, but Legendia kind of plays like Tales of Destiny or the 2D games despite being on the PS2.
Yeah.
Japanese fans really want to see that come back. Like there was a poll of what games you want to see remastered, and Legendia is like number 5. So I wouldn't mind seeing that. It's a good story, I think, comparatively to the rest of the series. So
It's all right.
we'll
Yeah.
see. The whole world map is a boat. I just my favorite thing. The whole world map is boat shaped because you're on a giant ship. The
That's
whole land. It's kind
right.
of like it's got Xenoblade
cool.
vibes that way.
It
That's
does.
cool.
Yeah.
And it was made by some of the Tekken people. Because
Yeah.
let them make a video game.
Wow.
That's why
Very
the
fighting
combat's
game-like.
in like 2D, because it's supposed to be like and like why most of the combat is based on just like fighting game combos.
Pretty much. That's
yeah.
why your main character is a brawler instead of like a sword user like traditionally Tales games would do. It's weird, but
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
What else? I don't think I played like I played the PSP Tales of Anthology game that came out.
Oh dang, Tales of the World?
Yeah,
you played that
I played
one?
that one. I actually kind of liked it. It was kind of.
I love that they mixed them all together. I wish that one did better because the 2 sequels were way better.
Yeah.
But that one sold so poorly they didn't bring over any more of the Tales of the World games.
Yeah, it was pretty sad.
Unfortunate.
Speaking of RPGs, I've been dipping into Castlevania Dominus Collection. It's great having the DS games
Oh,
on modern consoles. But the new remake of Haunted Castle was the biggest surprise. Where did they even go from here? Like, I think they've ported almost every Castlevania game I can
New
think of.
Castlevania game.
Yeah, no,
Hell
shut
yeah.
up.
That's asking for a little too much.
Oh, shit.
Idiot.
Slap a new on there.
They'll never do that. I mean, the only 2 Castlevania games I can still think of that haven't been ported are like we have the 2 PS2 games. Those have never gotten an HD. The 2 N64 games. They literally just need to do a 3D collection. They have not done a 3D collection.
Could happen. If the DS games can happen, so can that.
And then the Mercury Steam
Yeah.
games. Mercury Steam's popular now. Let's bring those back.
Did Mercury Steam make Castlevania games?
They made 2.5.
and a half.
And a half?
Before they worked on
The
yeah, before
reason
they worked on
why
Metroid.
Samus Returns is made by Mercury Steam is because they made a 3DS Castlevania game, and
Wow.
that was kind of used as the, hey, look, these guys can do the Metroidvania thing because they just made one.
That was their pitch. Yeah.
Yeah. God, what was the series called? Hold on, I'm looking it up. Castlevania.
Mercury Steam, Castlevania.
I downloaded Dominus
PS3.
Collection. I still need to play it.
Lords of Shadow, that's what it was.
Oh.
So there's Lords of Shadow 1 and 2 on the PS3. And then there's a sub game, and nobody talks about it. It was on 3DS. Mirror of Fate, I believe it was called.
Mm.
Yeah, and that did get an HD port. So it was originally on the 3DS, and then it got an HD port. Never came out on the Vita. So, those games were actually really good. I actually really liked Lords of Shadow. A lot of people didn't agree with me, but
I have heard of Lords of Shadow.
yeah,
Same.
really great acting. I think some people liked 1 more than 2, but 1 is more like a God of War clone, and then 2 is like a sort of more of its own thing. But it's more like Lords of Shadow 1 is like the first 3 God of War games. Lords of Shadow 2 is kind of more like the current God of War games.
Yeah.
A lot of the same combat, but more open worldy. It has Robert Carlyle and Patrick Stewart. That's true. All of my
Really? Wow.
all 2 of
Nice.
my Once Upon a Time fans out there. All 3 Lords of Shadow games are available on Xbox BC. Oh, that's true. Oh, even Mirror of Fate. That's cool. Yeah, but Mirror of Fate was the one where they were like, oh yeah, let's have them do Samus Returns, and now they're basically the 2D Metroid guys.
Yeah. Went out to make Dread. That was incredible. Wondering to see what they'll do
Mhm.
next.
Yeah. Do we have any more questions for our guests? Otherwise, I'll go ahead and we'll take a quick break, run some ads, everyone can get some water, and then we'll
Good
start
idea.
the full episode. The Mirror of Fate remaster is the one. Well, sure, you can't play a 3DS game on the Xbox
What? Why not?
because the Xbox isn't 3D.
I demand Super Mario 3D Land on my Xbox 360.
Yeah, get in line with all the other GameStop customers.
I want all my 3DS games on my Xbox.
Can you play Mario on Sony? I guess not.
There are
You-
ways.
Hacks.
Yeah, just hack the
It's a
Xbox.
method.
I played my primary use of the PlayStation Portable, the PSP, was to play Pokemon
Yeah.
Fire Red.
That was the
remember-
first thing I did. That's
Nice.
actually how I started playing
PSP.
Tales of Eternia, because like I just downloaded ISOs of PSP games because
Yeah.
we got Eternia in Europe, but we didn't get it here, so I just played it on my hacked PSP.
hmm
I loved OAT when I was watching it. Didn't finish the last 2 seasons. Oh yeah,
A what?
Once Upon a
A
Time.
what?
Yeah,
Dang.
my
I haven't
wife
had that in a while.
was a huge fan of Once Upon a Time, and then I heard Robert Carlyle's voice in Lords of Shadow, and I was like, oh okay, this guy can act. Or through dreams. That's true. I forgot about dreams, and so did everyone else.
Dreams.
That's one of the characters that you could find in Astro Bot, and my wife was just kind of like, oh yeah, or like, she was just like, what is that? And I was just kind of like, it's from Dreams, don't worry about it, nobody cares. That company spent 10 years on one game and nobody played it.
Well, having seen some of the stuff from Dreams, well, like what's possible to make in that, it's kind of insane how deep it is for
It
just
is.
like a game, you know, like it's by the Little Big Planet developers.
hmm
Media Molecule.
Yes.
Yeah, Media Molecule.
Because like they handed everything off to a different set of developers. They're the ones that made Little Big Planet 3. Media Molecule went to make Tearaway on the Vita, and then remade it for PS4, and then made Dreams. But Dreams was, I think Dreams was announced before the PS4 was announced, and then it came out when the PS4 was dying. Like,
Right.
was
It did
so
come out
long.
towards the end of the PS4.
Sumo Digital, that's who made LBP3. It was rough. I never finished LBP3 because
Yeah,
multiplayer
I
was
avoided it
busted.
because of that. Because
Yeah.
I when it came out, I heard like, oh, it was just like extremely buggy and like poorly designed, and yeah. I wonder what Media Molecule is doing these days.
Dream 2.
Oh, that's
It'll come
what
out at
that-
the end of the PS5
that's-
lifespan.
What that weird
Oh, that's-
pixelated thing was in Astro Bot. I was
That's
like,
what I'm
is this
saying.
from?"
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Dreams one.
Because like it's so distinct. I'm just like, I should know what this is from, but I couldn't put my finger on it.
Because like
I
that's
know.
not even the thing that you rescue. It's the hover guy.
The
Because that's
little
like the
cursor?
control. Yeah, the little cursor. You rescue
The
the
little
cursor, and then when you go
Yeah.
into your hub, you just see like this large pixelated looking ghost, and you're just kind of like, who the hell is that?
Who
And
are
then-
you?
Yeah, Dreams. Cactus says, question on my mind. Given the announcement of probably the final Switch bundle with Mario Kart 8, do you think we're getting a Switch 2 reveal before the end of the year or push to the next? I'm just going to come out and say, I don't think that they will do this until January.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Because
It
I don't
really-
think they would want to distract from these bundles that they just announced for holiday season. They're going to want people to like buy those bundles, get the Switch, that last little hoorah, get those sales numbers boosted. Because if they announce Switch 2, people are going to be like, well, I'm just going to wait for the new model. Why would I want a bundle? And if I'm just going to get a new one within the next year, possibly.
They are going to wait as long as they possibly can before announcing the Switch 2. Like it could even be longer than January.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think people have like a different perception of what it's like now because back then when the Switch was when the NX was getting announced, like the Wii U was already kind of dead and buried. They were just like, let's just get this out now, and so that kind of affected its scheduling. So that console launched early March, and so but this time the Switch is still selling, so they probably don't want to take away from that. So it probably is going to be a different situation from here compared to last time. So. We'll probably see something about it a little bit later. Probably not as soon as people think, because they can get away with waiting and waiting a little bit
They can.
longer.
And they have done.
Yep.
Nintendo has been known for just like, here, we're just going to sit on these games for multiple years until it's time.
What if there's just warehouses of Switch 2s they meant to release it like 2 years ago, but they're like, no, wait, the Switch is selling so good. We can't release these yet. They gotta stay in the warehouse
Yep.
Yeah,
a little
they're
bit longer.
They are sitting on Metroid Prime 2 Echoes remastered, on Fire Emblem Genealogy remake, and they're
God
just
damn
like,
it.
nah, they can wait. They got Zelda and Mario and Luigi coming. We can still pad this out a bit longer.
Yeah,
And I hate it.
I just don't. Okay, they can do it. Nintendo can do whatever they want, right? They can do whatever they
Yeah.
want. I just don't see it being a smart idea for them to announce it when in 2 weeks, I think, we have Echoes of Wisdom coming out. Right
Mhm.
after that, you're basically looking at the start of the holiday season. They are going to want to sell consoles for the holiday season. They're going to sell Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for the Switch 2 because it'll keep selling. I agree with that 100%.
Mhm.
We will never get another Mario Kart game again.
Never ever.
No.
That's
Not
what
in
the
history.
8 is. It's just infinite on the
Infinite.
side.
Eternate.
Yes.
Shit.
Lasts forever. That they knew.
The Switch 2 will just introduce a whole new, there'll be new booster course packs, triple the game size.
There's so much Mario Kart in this game. No, I just don't think it would be wise for them to basically just kill their potential sales for the system coming up onto a new holiday season. What do you mean Echoes of Wisdom comes out next week? Are you telling me it's coming out next week? Because I legit am so bad. I don't pay
It
attention.
comes
to
out a
release
week
dates
from
It is.
anymore.
tomorrow.
Comes out
Yeah.
a week from tomorrow. So yeah, 2 weeks, 1
It
week.
comes out a week
It
from
comes
tomorrow.
out within 2 weeks.
What do you mean? What is time anymore?
Look, September 26th.
I'm overwhelmed.
Everyone gets
Thinking
your pre-orders
about
in.
it.
Look, I pre-ordered it, so they'll tell me when
I
it's
did too.
released. I'll know when it comes out because Best Buy is going to tell me. Yeah,
Thanks,
Yeah.
Best Buy.
You know what sad ultimate means last? That's true. You think we're gonna see a Smash Brothers?
That's why Smash is dead.
Smash is dead.
I think they will re-release Smash Brothers Ultimate again, but with like some bonus stuff. We'll just do the DX treatment for Ultimate.
Man, yeah, I wonder how much Sakurai can get away with, considering that already has like everything in it that we
Yeah.
can ask for.
Right?
But I mean, yeah, they'll release a version that just has everybody already in it with all the DLC characters, stages,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Smash
Yeah.
Bros. Ultimate Edition.
Mhm.
All right, last question, then we'll get started with the episode. I've also been eyeing the Suikoden games in Eiyuden Chronicle. Anyone got experience with those? Apparently, they're based on Water Margin. Are we talking about Well, I mean, Eiyuden's based on Suikoden. I mean, I have very, very minimal experience with Suikoden. Suikoden came out at a time when like I didn't even own a PlayStation. I didn't own a PlayStation until like way late. And the only games that were still available at RPGs that were available at the time were still like Final Fantasies, and Dragon Warrior were still like oddly available. This is like maybe the first couple of years of the PS2. So I really missed out on Suikoden, and then I've just never been able to touch it. But I do want to play Eiyuden Chronicles. It's going to have to get in line with everything.
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
So many things in the
Too many
backlog.
things.
All right. So we're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna run some ads. When we come back, oh wait, hold on. I have the ability, because you guys are here early. I'm going to be gifting 5 memberships to the channel. So you guys are going to get 5 of you are going to get a free membership for the month. And then if you hang around, if you didn't get one, just stick around till the end of the show, and then I'll be gifting 5 more. So here are the first 5. It probably will take a second, because the last time I did this, it took a while.
My goodness.
Cactusay was gifted a membership. Danzo, AGSW, Jackson Edits, and Madden. Pierre Paolo Molfis. You guys just got a gift sub.
Nice.
Congratulations.
It works like everyone has to actually. Rebecca, I thought you paid.
Rebecca.
I thought you paid for your membership.
Big fan?
Wow, Rebecca.
All right, look, yeah, y'all get like your little tier 1 coffee cups. Actually, it doesn't look like. I think you were, but not anymore. It's okay. You'll see it in your chat name. It'll be like
Your
it's
name
like
would be-
Twitch. You should see your sub badge.
Your name should be green.
Yeah, you should be. You're gonna be green because it's like a free tier 2, basically. Because I have like, what I actually do like about this is that you can set your price. So my tier 1s only basically just get emotes, but that's like $3 a month. And then for $5 a month, you get tier 2, and that's like the main one. And then you get all the other cute little things. So
Cool.
enjoy your membership for the month. If you have a Discord, you'll get a special role in the Discord. Basically, if you want to join the Discord, you should you'll if you have your account linked to Discord, then you'll be able to see it and join the Discord channel, Discord server. So thank you, I guess. You're welcome, I guess. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, and then we're going to get started with the main episode where we talk about Sony a little bit more and just about what a weird month.
What a weird
And
time.
I hear it's only
Yeah.
going to get potentially worse.
It's
So we'll talk more
Yeah.
about that in a couple of minutes, but we'll be right back. I keep forgetting I don't. You got it because you were gifted one. I gave it to you. Anyway, be right back.
Sometimes you just thinks about it.
It really
Second
does.
thoughts.
I definitely saw that intro having some issues. Our audio listeners won't have that problem. Hi, everybody. It's me. It's Live LP. And it's time for another edition of DialogBOX. I believe we finally hit episode 50. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I've given up on trying to keep track of counting. And I'm here with 3 very lovely guests tonight. I am joined by of Good Vibes Gaming fame. We have Daniel Alba, aka Evernight Studios, here. Say hello.
Hello, everyone. So good to see you. Thank you for having me here today. I'm glad to be able to talk about not always Nintendo. We're a very mainly Nintendo focused channel on GVG, but it's nice to talk about Sony as well because what a month they've had.
I have a lot to say about that, but moving forward, we have streamer and content creator Josh Jepson here with us as well. Hello.
Hi. How's it going? Thanks
I was about to say,
for.
that's it. Goddamn.
Hi, that's it. Bye. No. Thanks for bringing me out here. Is this a bad time to tell you that I don't really follow Sony news these days?
You played Astro Bot,
I played Astro Bot, and I know about Sony's Weird Week.
so there you go. That's all that matters.
Okay, good.
Now, while she hasn't played Astro Bot, I think she knows a thing or two about video games and Sony in particular. Formerly of Destructoid, she also helps out with Zelda Universe as social media manager. We have Mary Stowe. Hello. Did I say that right? I think I always
Yes, you
ask
did.
every time. I did.
Yeah.
Thank God.
Hello. It's a me, Mario.
No, that's still Nintendo. That's.
Oh yeah.
Try it again.
Come
It's a
for ya.
me,
It's-
Crash Bandicoot.
It's a me, Astroboto. I don't know. I tried.
The Mario proxy. That's perfect.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got our guests here. We have what's at least you like Hi-Fi Rush? Where are we talking about? Xbox? Oh, it's okay. He's had me on to talk about like Xbox or some shit, IDK, anything about, and he still liked me afterwards. That's true. I value all of my guests because they said yes.
Hey, I like PlayStation. I want to like PlayStation more. They just make it very difficult.
Perfect segue.
I was gonna say it's weird because like my PS4 I loved and adored, and I was so hyped for PS5. Like Xbox Series X, I did not care. I wanted a Nintendo Switch. I wanted a PS5, and now I'm looking at my PS5 like, hello, you're there.
Yeah,
it's rough because like as Daniel was saying, like it's nice. It's kind of refreshing to be able to talk about Sony. I feel like Sony is a hard topic to have when it comes to YouTube or content creation in general. And I think that's just because like we sort of our viewer base tends to rely on either nostalgia or it relies on just looking at what's new from Nintendo because everyone loves Nintendo, even if we shouldn't sometimes, especially when their lawyers get involved. But I think right now Sony's at a very interesting position because we've just had them release a game that is, I kind of feel like people didn't expect it to do so well. I don't think people expected it to pop off. I think the game Sony did want to have pop off, although I guess it's mixed reviews on that depending on what I'm hearing. Failed very fast.
Yeah, outright.
And originally, this episode was just going to be about live service games because Concord failed so miserably that I feel like there just needs to be this continued conversation of like, where do you go from here? And then Astro Bot happened, and then the PS5 Pro happened. So Sony's just in the news right now, and I am so glad that I was able to find at least like a couple of people, just a couple that just wanted to talk about PlayStation. I love PlayStation.
Been a freaking roller coaster, man. It's been a roller coaster. Like I said, I want to like PS5 more than I do because I was all up in on the PS2 and the PS3 and the PS4. I was all over it. I'm a big Ratchet and Clank fan. And man, I have played one PS5 game outside of Astro Bot, and it was the Ratchet and Clank game on the PS5. That's it. That's all it is. And like there are definitely some other things out there that like I would probably tap into, but I mean, dude, I don't know. It's just it hasn't given me the same sense of joy that my Switch has given me.
I was just having to lean back and look at like my shelf. I was like, what have I played on my PS5 exactly?
A lot of the PS5 games that I played are like they're PS4 games.
Basically, or on other consoles.
And I get really like almost just a little butthurt about that because we the players created that environment, because I remember the PS5 launched in 2020, like November, I think, pretty late 2020, and it was so hard to get one because we had COVID, we had that whole shipping thing. Does anybody remember that? When we had that huge problem where all shipments of everything was getting delayed by months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess it's still kind of happening because of the ramifications of it. But like, nobody could get their hands on one. And so when all these games were getting announced, and like Resident Evil 8, for example, or God of War and Horizon, like these were all games that were getting announced for PS5 with the PS5 in mind. And then people who were not able to get a PS5 at that point were just kind of like, well, that's not fair. Like, I want to play these games, but I can't get a PS5. And so all these people were just kind of like, well, we do enjoy money. And so they made them multi-plat. I don't know if Horizon was ever meant to be a PS4 game, but at least like Capcom made a statement saying that we were going to push Resident Evil Village from just being a next-gen game to being a multi-generational game. They had to come out. So like, but now we're in a scenario where we're just kind of like, oh, PS5 doesn't have any games that you can't play somewhere else. And I was like, well, yeah, because that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
I still remember I had my desktop, my phone, my other laptop just lining up at the PlayStation Direct, whatever they called it, to line up for the queue to get a PS5.
Yeah.
And eventually finally got it. It felt amazing at the time, because at the time I wanted to play Ratchet and Clank. I wanted to play the other game that I feel really utilized the fact that you should have a PS5, a game that can only be on the PS5, which was Astro's Playroom. That game, the first game by the other game by Team Asobi, was one of the best games on there. That's why we were so excited for Astro Bot to get its own its own standalone title here, not just like a pack-in game. But yeah, there was that, and I was really excited to see what else was on there. I had the Miles Morales that came bundled with Spider-Man 1 on there as well. Spider-Man 2 is a fantastic game. I played some of the games. That's the thing. I could name all the exclusives on one hand, like Horizon Forbidden West was a great game. But it's like I can't really name many titles off the top of my head that is just exclusive to PS5 that I couldn't just play elsewhere. So that's one of its main issues right there.
Yeah, and even in my head, I was like, I keep forgetting that Horizon also came out on PS4. So like, Forbidden West is playable on both systems. So like, it's not even an exclusive title. I think for a while, the biggest exclusive that PS5 had was Ratchet and Clank, and then Sony pushed it to Steam. So like, you can play it on PC now, even though they were like, oh, you can only do all this with the power of the SSD. Ooh. You can get your portals and go through because you don't have to load them. Do we count the Demon Souls remake? If you want,
give it to them.
Yes. Yes.
You know what? Let them have it. Let them have
it.
Yeah.
You know, Sony's having a rough week. Let's give Demon Souls, everybody. So you know, before we go any further, I feel like we've talked about our personal trip with Sony. Maybe we'll talk a little bit more about that. But I just want to, I got to do the thing. In case you're joining us just now, this is DialogBOX, which is a monthly podcast where I grab all the people you love to watch on the internet and force them to talk about video games with me for about an hour and a half. You can watch the show live with video over at youtube.com/laughingboylp. And you can even join in the conversation in our live chat. Or you can get the audio-only version by going to your favorite podcasting service and searching for DialogBOX, all one word, DialogBOX. Maybe I'll have a new name next time. I don't know. If you want to support the podcast, you can either subscribe to the YouTube channel and chat with us during the live streams, which is totally free. And if you like the video, you can let us know by hitting the like button. Apparently, you can hit the hype button soon.
That's a new thing.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I'm eligible. I'm small. I'm a small business. Only 16, 1700 subs.
All hypes.
Yeah, all hypes.
All hypes.
You can also support the audio podcast by checking us out and rating us on places like Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite audio talk shows with a rating system. So yeah, let's get that hype. But yeah, let's talk about Sony again. They've had kind of an interesting week. I do kind of want to go in and see, like, we've very briefly talked about our experiences with PlayStation. Yeah, change from DialogBOX to DialogBOX. Yeah, let's change it. Let's make it worse. Dialogue. It's probably better that way. It's probably the actual word. So my experience with PlayStation was, as a kid, my very first system was a Super Nintendo. And I literally, like, I can still remember sitting in the kitchen and my parents are like, "What do you want for Christmas? A Super Nintendo or a Sega Genesis?" And my brother and I immediately, we didn't even talk about it. There was no discussion. It was Super NES. We want that. We want to play Donkey Kong Country. And then we played that. We had a great time. We didn't even think about a PlayStation. We got the N64. And then all of a sudden I kept hearing about it, like, because I hate taste. Shut up. I put spice in my foods. Oh, because I had
that changes
worst
the message
typo.
entirely.
I'm sorry. It was a hypo.
It was a hypo.
It was a hypo. I'm sorry to all
Rebecca,
my
are you
audio
okay?
listeners,
With
but
the
apparently
hypos out
Rebecca's
here.
not having
Hypos
a
in
good
chat.
time in chat, telling me that I hate taste.
No flavor over here.
Yeah, look, I'm white, but I'm not European. So, I was a Nintendo boy for a long time, and I didn't even think about PlayStation. And then almost every game that I enjoyed, especially as I started to learn about new games through emulation, all these games like Mega Man and Final Fantasy, I was like, well, I want to play more of that. But it was all on PlayStation. So, like I said earlier during the Q&A session, it was right around the time the PS2 had just come out. The PS1, the mini one, was about $50. And so I got some, like, Christmas money from the grandparents. I went and bought a PlayStation, and I've loved the PlayStation. It had all the games that I really enjoyed from the Super NES era, and I still believe, personally speaking, that the PS1 and the Super NES are my two favorite consoles of all time. 100%. Those are my two favorite consoles. She's sick. Cut her some slack. She's better. She has no excuse. RPG fans were eating real good. That Alpha Lion in chat saying RPG fans were eating good. RPG fans, any fans of, like, Super NES games could have just easily moved over to the PS1 and would have had a great time. Then I bought a PS2, and I just kept going from there. Like, I
think
that was my experience.
I think the N64 shaped a lot of my opinions on what kind of games that I play amongst other consoles, because I gravitated immediately towards Ratchet and Clank for the PS2. And I'm starting to think that I was more a Ratchet and Clank fan than I ever was a PlayStation fan, because I'm trying to think of all of the PlayStation exclusives that I've played over the years, and it's really very little. Yeah. I never got into, like, Killzone or what else was on the PS3, like
God of War.
I never played God of War.
I think what's been fun though is like I've been streaming, and one of the streams that I do on my Twitch channel every Saturday is Caboose, one of
I did
my
play
friends
Uncharted.
on the couch. You did play Uncharted. Okay, thank God.
All of them. They're great.
One of my friends was also the Nintendo fan and never really played a lot of, like, PS2 games or anything like that. So they've been experiencing Sony through these streams, and I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I remember this game, and it's not as good as I remember it. But also, I mean, Ratchet 1 was not a very good game.
Ratchet 1 was rough. Yeah. Yeah.
The next stream is going to be the last one, whether we beat the game or not.
Just play the second one. It's fine.
Yeah.
They introduce all of the series conventions in the second game onwards.
Yeah. Mary, what about you? What's your Sony experience been like?
So I was, like, late to the video game party as a whole, just because I wasn't allowed to have video games until I was in, like, junior high. So GameCube was the first one that I owned, like myself. It was my console, but a lot of my friends that I had growing up had like Super Nintendo, so I got to experience a lot of games through them. And I feel like my first experience is probably one that a lot of people had, where all of a sudden my friend is like, "We got a PS2. You have to come over right now. I have the greatest game ever. It is so cool. You're not going to believe how this game looks." And it was Kingdom Hearts.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
Oh baby.
We all,
Oh.
I remember sitting on my friend's living room floor and all of us just watching this and listening to
Yeah.
Simple and Clean, like just listening and watching that cutscene. And we were just like, oh my God, this is a video game. Like, this is
Yeah.
peak. It can't get better than this. This is what games are going to be for the rest of our lives. And they ended up not being much of like a Sony family, but I held on to that memory of like, I have to play Kingdom Hearts myself like someday. Cause of course, like my friend wasn't going to let me just sit in their living room and play this for hours and hours. And I ended up trading babysitting hours to somebody for their PS2, like when I was in high
Wow.
school. And then I went
Wow.
to a game store and I was like, hi, here's the rest of my babysitting money. I need Kingdom Hearts.
That's
And
great.
so many years later, I finally got to play it like in high school. And of course,
Wow.
the PS3 was like out already, but I was like, I don't care. I was like, I need the PS2 because it was cheaper. I wasn't going to buy, a PS3 with babysitting money.
Yeah.
That was like always
So,
the thing for me too, because like I couldn't convince my parents unless the system was itself was cheap. Like that's the only reason why I got the PS1 because it was literally $50 for just the system itself. And so I was able to just convince them to get that. I didn't get a PS2 until Budokai 3 came out. So that was pretty late in the PS2 lifestyle, but when I saved up a ton of like graduation money. So I graduated high school, so everyone was sending me cash. And I literally got just enough for the system plus tax. So
wow.
all the money that I got
Yeah.
from graduating was used to just buy the system itself. So I didn't have any games for like 4 months. But Daniel, what about you? What was your experience like?
I'm glad Mary brought up Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Do you remember the commercial back then that
Oh,
played
yeah.
on TV? It was playing Simple and Clean, like the faster beat the intro version, and it was showing all the Disney characters in a row.
I don't
It-
think I do. Maybe
It's
I
like-
had seen it and just didn't register that it was like a game or something. Because, like I said, my parents were just like, yeah, you don't need that.
Yeah, that's like the one commercial that was getting me the most hyped about, another console that I hadn't really thought about before. I was very much a Nintendo person. I had my grandpa had a Super Nintendo. He had like only 4 games on it. He had like the most random assortment of like Turtles in Time, Super Mario World, Street Fighter 2, and Madden. So I had no say in what that was about. I know he gave it to one of my other cousins when they were getting older, and then they got me a Nintendo 64. So that was mostly what I had for a long time. There wasn't I didn't really play anything on the PS1 until, funny enough, like the PS3 with the classics like Metal Gear Solid,
Yeah.
Fantasy 7, 8,
Yep.
9. Although I did borrow 7 from a friend and I played it on my PS2 back then. But yeah, I remember seeing Kingdom Hearts and I was asking my parents like, can we get can I get a PS2 and with Kingdom Hearts as my game? And I remember my mom was asking me, is this the one you want? Is this has like Donald Duck and Goofy? And I'm like, yeah, that's the one. That's the one I'm talking about. That's the game. And yeah, since then, that was the first game that I ever got for my PS2. I also had the slim version. It was
Yeah.
really, it was like, this is a tiny system and it's so powerful because also with the visuals looks so impressive. Square Enix was
Mhm.
always like ahead with their visuals
Yeah.
and like anything that they've done, even since then. And yeah, since then it was just like other titles that I would play. Like that's how I got into Tales of the Abyss, which is my favorite Tales of game. Metal Gear Solid 3. That's how I got into the Metal Gear Solid series, was through that. And other games like I remember playing like Burnout Revenge was one that I played a lot with my friends. Um, and from there I ended up I always remember since then I would never get any PlayStation console at launch, whether it's PS3, 4, 5. I always got them after the fact, and yeah, I just kind of continued on from there, getting each console. And like some of you, I also have fonder memories of playing games on the PS4 than the PS5 because there were games on it. Ain't that a thing?
I think what's really funny is that is like a friend of mine was really lamenting like towards the end of the PS4 life cycle, and when you look at the catalog of PS4 games, and he was looking specifically at like my own shelf, but I don't collect every single game. But it was just kind of like look at all the PS3 games that you have, and then look at all the PS4 games that you have, and it's so much smaller than the PS3 collection. I was like, well, yeah, but you know, games were coming out like we would get like a ton of games every year, and now look at the PS5. Like my PS5 shelf is like a quarter of my PS4 collection, which is in itself probably about half of my PS3 collection.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
PS3 collection was just like game after game after game after game after game. Like, we were
Part of
spoiled
it-
back then.
Part of that upsets me is that even if I buy physical, you still have to like download the entire thing on your console, like like you're getting digital anyways. Like I want to
I
get
will-
physical, but
I
then
will
like
forever be mad about that.
Yeah,
like what's the point at this rate?
it does heavily skew your perception of how many games actually came out for a system, because you're just
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, half of my games are locked to the SD card.
Right.
But let's talk about what's been going on over the last month. We had, I think a lot of this feels like it happened while I was away. Because like we had PAX
Mhm.
West at the beginning of the month. And I think like that very first day, we had either just found out or this is like the day after it was announced, but they announced that Concord, this big multi-billion-dollar game that they were trying to get released, and this was going to be PlayStation's like big service game. I guess waiting for Bungie to create their next big service game. This was their big title.
Destiny 3.
Yeah. Someday.
Yeah.
Someday. They announced that they canceled it. 2 weeks. It was only 2
Yeah.
weeks. This was 8. Yeah. Dad Alpha Lion in chat. 8 years, $100 million. So not billions, but like $100 million
8 years.
to then cancel the game in 2 weeks and refund everybody. So it's not like they're
Yeah.
running away with
Yeah.
everybody's money. They're literally like, they made nothing on this. It's wild to me.
Yeah.
Do you think that they will try and retool it and bring it back?
I think that's like a really
Maybe under a different name.
That's they just like reskin the green guy to be blue, and it's like, no, it's blonde cord.
I swear.
Yeah.
that was the old game. That one was bad. No, it's just Mag 2. I don't know. Like, anybody remember Mag? That's what they said in the blog post.
Oh my god, I do remember Mag. That's the one with the 100 players or something. Like,
yeah, that was a
I had-
big deal. That they did a live demo at E3, and I miss E3 for the live demos because it looked like it ran really well.
I almost got into that.
But then like when it was back when they were still doing physicals of everything. So when they canceled Mag after like, years and years down the line, like it actually had a life. You could still buy it in like $5, bargain bins, but like you're basically just buying a brick. Like it wouldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, Mag I feel like was one of their, like they just need to, like SOCOM I think was their most successful games as a service series. And it wasn't even that. But no, I think that's a good question to ask. Like, what can they do with this? Because when the news broke of this, the original intent for this episode for me was, what are we doing with games as a service? Because this is right off of Suicide Squad. This is coming off of several other games as a service titles being canceled. And this is also off of Foam Stars. Like, Foam Stars has been quietly clinging on to life. I don't even know how many players are actively playing Foam Stars. They just swap all the characters with Astro Bot versions of them. Shut up.
I mean, that would work.
It would work for some of us. It would work for me.
But like,
That's
do we think that we are getting to a point now? Yeah, Insomniac Spider-Man had a live service, like a multiplayer version. Naughty Dog canceled their multiplayer Last of Us game that had been in development for a while. That one just kind of like died quietly. But do you think at this point that people are? I feel like gamers are tired of live service games. Can we agree with that
Yeah.
to a degree?
I
Yeah.
think that
Yeah,
it's getting there for sure.
the one of the big problems of that is that this is an idea they conceived 8 years ago. The
That's what
live
I was gonna
service,
say.
the live service like structure and you know the market for games like that was very different 8 years ago than it is now, where it's been kind of saturated with so many different titles that players are just kind of tired of it at this point.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate to think that as these people were developing the game, they're just kind of in the back of the head like this isn't even going to be popular with the gamers, with the way that the atmosphere is for these sort of games now, which is sad for the for the developers. They could have been
Yeah.
working on anything else than this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the big problem with live service games is that you get like the really popular ones that have lasted for years and years and years and they continuously update. Why would they ever move to another unfamiliar game when their favorite game is updating every couple of months for the last 8 years, you know? Like
Mhm.
it's just really hard to get people to move from, like, let's say Fortnite, you know, like that's their thing. There's been their go-to thing for years now. Why would they move when they have all of this stuff that they've already been doing on Fortnite? And like when you have like another 1,000 different not mobile games, them too. What's the word I'm looking for?
Service games.
Yeah, thank you. Live service games. When you have all of these live service games coming out back to back to back to back to back, just because like it starts to feel really money grubby too, you know? It's just like they're trying to get the last little dollar out of every single person that's playing on these consoles, when in reality, I think that investing a smaller amount of money over a shorter period of time with a smaller team to put out something like Astro Bot that just does well, hopefully, is just a better investment than like pumping millions and millions and millions of dollars into, high risk, maybe high reward, like, but definitely high risk game at like Concord.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering if this had been like a PS5 launch game, it had a much shorter development cycle. It had
Yeah.
been a launch game. Could it have been a very different scenario? Like this is going to be a day one PS5, you know, let's assume that like we were in the situation we were in and people could actually get their hands on PS5s. And all of a sudden it's like, okay, my friend's getting one. I'm getting one. We're going to squad up. We're going to play Concord, launch weekend. But I'm also surprised that nowhere in this 8-year development cycle with the extremely large budget that it had, that at around year 4 or 5, somebody was looking at the games of service trends and being like, hey, clearly this is where we're at right now. We need to start thinking about how these games are going to, what is the next tier? What's the next step up? What is going to make people say, oh my God, screw Overwatch, screw Apex, screw Fortnite, screw all these things. Concord is like, it's got this new thing about it that is going to make people want to leave those behind, And
Yeah.
it's weird.
And I
Yeah.
think what's even weirder than that, well, not just as weird, not weirder, but just as weird. No one knew about this game until it was happening. Like, no,
Yeah.
we hadn't heard about like, oh, Sony's working on some big mysterious
Mhm.
live service shooter or whatever for years. Nobody heard about it until like maybe because it was like that the PlayStation Direct like a couple of months ago briefly,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah,
suddenly it was out.
Yeah.
Well, and
So like they
like,
didn't even have a chance to tell, like to even say whether or not it had something special that would stand it out from the crowd.
yeah. And like, I remember watching the showcase because, yeah, it was announced this past summer. And then
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
like, hi, by the way, it's going to be here in a few months. I remember watching that trailer and thinking, okay, this is cool because I like sci fi stuff. I like sci fi shooters.
Mhm.
I'm a huge Mass Effect fan.
Yeah.
The second I found out it was a multiplayer live service game, my
Yeah.
interest disappeared. And I was like, I no longer care about these characters. These characters could have been really cool, had really in-depth stories, and maybe they do. And like I would have gotten that lore or whatever through the game still, but my interest just went out the window. I was like,
Yep.
I do not care about this anymore.
I also feel like everyone was tired of the let's just do the Guardians of the Galaxy thing, where all the characters are basically
Mhm.
cookie cutter, like Guardians of the Galaxy characters. So like it had almost everything against it, where it was like, yeah, we're like a band of misfits, and we're just gonna do the thing that we're all already tired of doing. So, but I feel like Josh, you kind of brought up a point. That the whole intent in my eyes of the live service game as a model is that you are trying to build longevity. Like you create a video game, you know that it's going to cost money to make that video game. So not only do you want to make your return on investment, you want to make billions of dollars. Like let's think about other live service games. Like Pokemon Go makes like billions of dollars every year. And that's not even the highest earner. Like you're not talking about like Genshin and Honkai Star Rail. Like those games make so much money, and you can just release the game and then just build it up for like 10 plus years and just make billions of dollars every year. And so it's really easy for like these people in these, these board members to basically see this and be like, okay, you have to do that. Like Sony, you have to have a Genshin, you have to have a Fortnite. But like the thing you just said earlier was it is so much easier for these development studios to just create a smaller scale game, a single player experience, because what you have is that now everyone is trying to make Fortnite, but you can't beat Fortnite. We saw this like 20 years ago. Somebody made World of Warcraft. You can't beat World of Warcraft, but everyone tried and failed for like 10 years to be the next World of Warcraft. And instead, it was such a, now that the market is oversaturated with live service games, you're getting no return on investment. Whereas you have Astro Bot that comes out, it was a much smaller game. It was a single player experience, and you can be done. That's the thing. You can't be done with Fortnite until you just decide to quit playing forever. Because Fortnite will continue to go until they decide to close it down. So because all these games demand so much of your time, but like Astro Bot or Ratchet and Clank or Spider-Man 2 don't, why not just focus on those games, get your return on investment for those, and just move on to the next thing?
Yeah, because instead of somebody playing a game for 400 hours, they're going to play a game for 12 hours, and then they'll go buy another game.
Yeah.
And so like then you're just like, that's how theoretically, if there are games to buy. The other thing that you kind of like glossed over, you mentioned all games that are free to play.
That's also a big
free-to-play model.
Yep.
They go out there, they put the free game out, and then you buy all the little aesthetic stuff or whatever, like bonuses and stuff like that. And that's how they make all their money. Concord was a $60 game in which also had that other stuff. So I assume that it had that other stuff. I actually don't know if it had microtransactions, but I assume that it does, given that it is a live service game.
Yeah, I mean that they wanted not only for you to pay for the game up front, but then to continue paying for it over time. Where Concord might have been $40.
It was 40,
but that's still, I guess
you're still asking for price of
Yeah.
admission before you
There's
do all this
there's
other
that
stuff.
barrier. It doesn't matter how much it is. It could be 20 or 30 or 40 or $50. It's still that barrier of like, you have to pay money to get this thing instead of just, I'm going to go on the PlayStation Network right now and download this free game and immediately jump into a lobby with my friends. And then if I like it, maybe I'll buy a helmet or a cape or something.
That does make me wonder just how different like the player base would have been if it was just a free to play instead of just you have to pay for it. Because on Steam, all-time peak players, 697 players for this game, for this $100 million game. That's the most, and as far as Steam knows, we're playing at one time, and it went down from there.
I guess we wouldn't know how many people were playing it on PlayStation.
I think
it's just Steam numbers, but that's still abysmal. Because games like Fortnite, like they're going to be fine. Like they've had that install base, they've been there. They're going to continue to be there. But the fact that Concord didn't do anything to try and like lure people away from that. Like, what is new? What is different about this game? It's just not really anything of value that would take people away from playing Fortnite or Overwatch or what have you. That was appealing. And yeah, as we were mentioning earlier, if this was like just a single player adventure itself, I feel like people would have been more interested in trying it out and saying, like, oh, hey, this
Yeah.
looks like a cool environment with fun characters. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
even if you didn't like the design, I actually wonder if people would have received everything about Concord better if they weren't already upset by the fact that it was a live service game. And if it was a $40 single player experience, would people have been more receptive and be like, yeah, you know what? I'll check it out. Like, it looks a little cookie cutter. It reminds me of like Borderlands or Guardians.
Mhm.
But like, I still liked those experiences. And if it had some like minor multiplayer, like co-op or something like that, I could see that having done better. But Helldivers 2 released earlier this year. I don't think anybody expected Helldivers 2 to succeed the way that it did. And
Yeah.
it also had a price tag. So it's like, it can happen, but your game has to be interesting.
Your approach
Yeah.
matters.
Yeah.
Marvel Rivals also came out, which has a way more interesting style than Concord. Marvel Rivals is also, I feel like, a much smaller, like you're not looking at like the graphics of Concord versus Marvel Rivals, which is really hard to say actually.
Marvel Rivals.
Helldivers 2 doesn't let you pay for tiers in its battle pass. True. Yeah.
I'm thinking about oh, sorry.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, think about like if Concord had been free to play, you know that streamers would have downloaded it purely for curiosity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and then
100%.
playing it for their audiences. I mean, all it takes is like a couple of like medium to large streamers to be streaming it for a couple hundred, couple thousand people, and all some people they're curious too. They're like, oh, like maybe this isn't so bad. My favorite streamer's having a pretty good time. You know, they do open lobbies. They get people downloading it for free. Like that could have taken it in such a completely different direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could make all the difference because Hoyoverse, as we mentioned earlier, the Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, they also just very recently in July released Zenless Zone Zero,
Yeah.
which even just that, like they're doing a third game essentially, and it's not so much in the same style, but you see all the similarities when you start to play it. Very urban style, amazing art style, very well animated characters. A massive booth at PAX. That was like my favorite booth at PAX, like unironically. 52 million from like the first opening launch of that on mobile and on PS5. And it just depends. Like it's also, you know, Hoyoverse has that name to them now too, but
Yeah.
also just depends on how you approach this. And obviously it's free to play, so that's what they were doing. Like people were just out of curiosity, I'll check out this new Hoyo game and see what it's all about. And it's as successful as the other games that they've been releasing.
Can I be real? I think Concord, kind of a boring name.
You know, it's one of those sci-fi names where it's like, I'm sure
It doesn't tell me anything.
I'm sure the word Concord means
Helldivers,
something,
you know?
but like, unless you
It's just a
play the
place.
game, you're not gonna know what that means. Well, it's the same thing like Halo. It's like it's alluring because you're just like, oh, what is Halo? But it didn't have to be called that. It could have been called anything, but you give it that name, and I feel like it's just for sci-fi games and some fantasy games, like high fantasy stories and games. But like Dragon Age is just like a cool name for a video game.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
But like Concord is just kind of, it's just
Be
a
anything.
word. Yeah. Unless you play the game, I don't think you're really gonna know what it's about.
And like I think that you could overcome the boring name with like an interesting game that like does well and like you get a lot of people behind it and whatever. Like you build on that. I don't think that the boring name helped them any though in this case.
Well,
It
and
was
just as Mary was saying, or one of us was saying, I think it was Mary. You know, the first I heard about Concord was during the State of Play from a couple of months ago. I think it was like the last State of Play we ever had.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
then they were
open the
like,
show.
by the way, we hope you really like this because we're spending most of our time on it and it's coming out in like 2 months. So I hope you're all excited. And then the only things that people really talked about throughout that entire State of Play was Astro Bot. And Astro Bot was like a
Yep.
teaser trailer at the very end. They're like, also, this is also coming out in a couple of months. Yeah, we don't care.
Everyone was like, "Yay!"
Great. That's great.
But I think they
I'm-
saw like the social media like dichotomy where people were just kind of like, "Oh, Concord looks like ass." Astro Bot though? And like you could tell in the
Armies,
marketing
heck.
that Sony kind of very easily gave up on Concord and very much started to push Astro Bot a lot more. Like it was at PAX West in more than just a booth. Like you could see ads for it in a ton of different places. They had a car that was just driving around the block.
I saw that.
Where you could just watch the Astrobot trailer. And that was the when I landed in Seattle, that was the very first PAX related ad I ever saw. Even before all the metaphor
here.
stuff where you couldn't even play the game.
They've really taken a page out of Nintendo's book with Astrobot, and I hope that I think that Astrobot would make a great mascot for the PlayStation, which PlayStation currently does not have. You know, there's like a recognizable IP on Xbox in, you know, stuff like Halo, Master Chief, whatever. Obviously, Nintendo has Mario and Zelda, but it's like when you think of PlayStation, what do you think of? You think of like Crash and Spyro, which aren't even PlayStation properties.
No, they've never owned. Sony has never ever owned Crash or Spyro. That's the thing
I
that like
know.
we
That's
associate
crazy.
Crash and Spyro with Sony to the nth degree, but they've never been owned by Sony.
It's crazy.
They were owned by Universal, and then that got moved to Activision, and Activision's had it ever since.
It feels like the big mistake is Sony not leaning more into the stuff that they did own back like years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they didn't really lean into it. I don't know.
I think
Some
they
stuff
were.
they did, but
I think Sony really relied heavily on their third parties. They were expecting everyone else to do the work for them, and we're going to make the console. We need developers because we don't have a game studio because Sony didn't want that at the time. And even now, you kind of see the ripple effect of that today because Team Asobi exists, but like they've had a Japan studio that shut down, like last year? And so, and even then, can you name many of their Japan studio titles? I can name Gravity Rush, but I don't even think the Team Ico games are made by Japan studio. I mean, they might be, but you know, there's a reason for that. Japanese track would last for years until Japan studio shut down in 2021. Oh, so it was 2021. God dang.
crazy.
So like,
Been a bit.
you know, Puppeteer was like another one. I think they really wanted Puppeteer to do something, and it didn't. So like, all of their properties, very few. I mean, that was that news article. So let's move on to that. So Sony released a news article right after Astrobot launched, and they're like, "Oh, we don't have any original IP." And you look at Astrobot, and you look at all the PlayStation IP, but when you really get down to it, how many does Sony personally own?
Most of them were third parties.
Or second, at least. Yeah, Japan studio made Everybody's Golf. Oh, hell yeah. So yeah, they have like Everybody's Golf. Technically, I believe they have Parappa the Rapper and Jammer Lammy. We haven't seen a Parappa game since Parappa 2 on the PS2, and I don't think anybody played that. So like, I think really they were Ape Escape. Were they Ape Escape? I think technically they were.
Pretty sure.
We also
like-
haven't seen Hide nor Hair of Ape Escape.
No,
in
we haven't seen
many,
Ape
many
Escape since
decades
like
either.
the PSP era. Like,
Yeah.
I think there was like a huge cutoff at like the late PS2 era where all of a sudden a lot of their Japan studio owned properties just fizzled away. And like the new Sony kind of entered into the scene and made a ton of money. And so like a lot of those games just kind of feel like I haven't seen Toro or Kuro in a fortnight.
That's when that's
Add 'em to
around the
Fortnite.
That's about the time. That's about the era where I feel like Sony started to lose the identity of these characters, like its own identity of what characters define a Sony title. When I look at these characters, what do I think of?
Yeah.
And it just kind of started to get diluted as we enter like PS3, PS4 eras, and then Astrobot comes by and it was like, oh yeah, all these characters I used to associate with exclusively with Sony, but some of them are not even like exclusive to them anymore as IPs. So
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavily agreed on that. So even though I feel like a lot of people got upset when Sony said that, when you know, the representative had said that, I don't totally disagree with it. How does everybody else feel about that?
I mean, I don't totally disagree either. I
Yeah.
think I think because when I first saw it, I kind of scoffed. I was like, oh, they have stuff. That's ridiculous. Why would they say that? But I thought about it more and more and more. And like we just said, like most of the stuff on PlayStation has been for many, many years not owned by Sony.
Yeah.
And they have zero control over all of these IP, which is why Crash and Spyro are, they broke out and have gone elsewhere now.
Yeah. And I think that's why even Naughty Dog, like, as soon as the PlayStation 1 era ended, they basically were like, we're not doing any more Crash Bandicoot games because we want to create IP that we own. So Jak and Daxter is owned by Naughty Dog. It's not owned by Universal or now Activision. And that's why, like, you still aren't going to likely see a Jak and Daxter or anything like that on, like, any other platform. Although we are now seeing Horizon in Lego form on the Nintendo Switch, so who knows about that?
That's very weird.
It's still
That is.
really funny to me.
It's so weird. I kind of want to play it.
I legit want to play it.
I mean, I'd be interested in it, but I'm probably I don't know if I would buy it on Switch. That's all. Yeah.
I will watch one of you play it.
I'll watch Josh play it, and then if he's having fun, maybe I'll buy it. I've already played Horizon 1 and 2.
Meanwhile, I still haven't played Horizon 2, so I'll skip straight to the Lego one.
One's good. 2's all right.
I did enjoy 1.
Enjoy 1 more, I think.
Yeah, 1 was
as a
very
whole.
good.
But yeah, these property holders, it's interesting to see how they're being handled, because even a game as big as like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth earlier this year, that's still solely on PS5.
Yeah.
And then Square Enix is like disappointed at sales as of right now, and I'm just like, well, maybe it's because it didn't sell on any other consoles.
Yeah.
When that goes to PC, I'm sure it'll get another bump in sales. But as it is right now, like it's just there's not much of an install base when you think about it.
No,
There's just not as many people that own us to buy these games, and yet there's still some games like Astro Bot that are exceeding sales predictions because of the smaller studio, smaller production time. And yet, yeah, that threshold for making a profit is much lower at that point.
Yeah.
I hope it's a lesson to the higher ups at Sony and PlayStation, because these games are so good. Like, it's made by it's 60-person team.
Yeah.
Made Astro Bot.
Yeah. It was a very small title.
On like a $3 million budget.
Yeah.
In just 3 years. And
it's great, and it's fun, and it's like bringing people together, and like I'm seeing all kinds of clips and stuff of people like kicking around a bunch of particles.
1.5 million particle effects in one shot.
Look,
that was like,
it's a dream realized. I still remember the rubber duckies.
The rubber duckies.
That was like, I remember seeing that in real time. I saw that E3 presentation for PS3, and they showed the rubber duckies, and it was literally a thing. I talked about it during the stream yesterday when we were playing Astro Bot, and it's like, oh yeah, on the PS1 you might be able to have like 1 rubber ducky in the bathtub. On the PS2 you could have like 12 rubber duckies in the bathtub, but on the PS3, and then they just dump, like it overflows with a bunch of rubber duckies to the point where they like fall out of the tub, and they're like, you can have so many rubber ducks. And I feel like Astro Bot has referenced that in almost every Astro game that has come out. They've had rubber duckies in it.
Oh, yeah.
Because they also do the T-Rex, which was like the PS1 tech demo, apparently.
oh, yeah.
The true measure of a console's processing is how much it Fs up at the bitrate on a Twitter clip.
Yeah, that clip I posted is just destroyed because there's like a million gems falling down, and you can't even see Astro anymore. It's just a bunch of nonsense.
No.
But that's what I want, man. I don't care about realistic graphics. Let me hit all these objects with absolutely no dip in the frame rate or performance whatsoever. That's what the PS5's power was meant for.
There's not a moment that goes by in Astro Bot where I come across a pile of things and I'm not just like spinning and punching my way through this pile of things for at least 5 minutes before I move on.
It's so satisfying.
It's so satisfying.
I feel like I feel like Astro Bot did like two things. I feel like it utilizes the dual sense to the nth degree much better
Mhm.
than any other, even Sony first or second party games that have released on the PS5 have done. And because like my wife has not really played or used the PS5 pretty much at all. And so when we played Astro Bot, she was like so amazed by like the
Mm.
rumble, the sounds coming out of the controller. It felt realistic. The dual sense, the 3D rumble would change depending on what surface you were walking on, or if you were like slowed down because of mud or anything like that. Like that connection to the player is so deep thanks to what the DualSense was marketed to do in the first place. But also, I feel like it brings back this like sense of wonder and exploration that I don't think, in my opinion, Mario has even had.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
and
I mean,
I'll
Odyssey
probably
has a
get
lot of
flamed, burned to the
stuff like
coals for
that,
saying
but
that, but like, I felt like Mario Odyssey had some of it because
yeah.
like you wanted to explore what the hat could do. But in Astrobot, I'm just kind of going all over the place and making sure to like smack or punch everything because I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen or I don't know what the reaction is going to be. And
Right.
I'm just looking all over the place because the levels, the stages are so much more smaller scope.
Yeah.
And there's just so much vibrancy to it that like even a game like Super Mario 3D World didn't even have, in my opinion. When's the last time
Yeah.
you used the PS5's controller touchpad other than an extra large button? It's a good question.
Astro's Playroom.
Well, yeah, sure. I,
Like
I,
one
I honestly
time.
think that's a good question, and I ultimately can't think of many that
All
use
I
the
can think of
touchpad.
No.
is
No,
I know I remember you would use it in Spider-Man 2, just to swipe like the cell phone
Oh
to kind of
yes,
emulate that.
yes,
But that's the thing, like even games that do utilize the DualSense, like Spider-Man 2, Horizon, like those games still don't go to the extra lengths that you see in Astrobot. And that tactile connection is so much more personal than anything else I've ever played in a very long time. It was probably in Astro's Playroom because that they were intentionally meant to go fully in with the power of that dual sense the entire time. And I just love how it just blends into that because you're literally riding that ship. It's the controller is the ship in the game, so it feels even more of a connection between you and
yeah.
Astrobot.
I love that.
It's and also like when you pause or when you see the little bots, they like I expect the touchpad to open up. You see the bots inside. You can bounce it up, and all the bots will like fling up and fall back down in the controller. It's so charming. That game is so ridiculously charming, and with everything that it's put into it, there's so much love and attention put into that game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so like seeing how much love there is on the internet and even just like in this panel for this game. And I'm sorry, Mary, I know you haven't played it yet. So
I'll say I'm slowly being convinced to play. I think I've watched everyone here play it.
yeah,
Yeah, it's Mario Galaxy 3. The trilogy is finally complete. That's basically what
Yep.
it is.
Yeah, I honestly just didn't pick it up because Zelda's coming out and then Dragon Age, and like that's
Yeah.
all my brain is locked in on.
yeah.
So I just had
Fair.
other priorities, unfortunately.
Fair.
So where I was like, oh yeah, Astro Bot is coming out like before Zelda.
I hope I can finish it before Zelda comes out because it's going to be a fight for me. It's going to be a fight between Astrobot and Zelda, most likely for like my game of the year. Like that's like it's going to be a fight in my
Yeah.
head. I'm gonna have to like really like meditate on
Astrobot is up there, yeah.
this.
Yeah, right now it's for me it's Rebirth and this game. Like they're so
Yeah.
good. And it just like Rebirth does so many things right for me, but Astrobot is such a breath of fresh air, not just because it's on a Sony platform, but just because like I don't this is like the kind of thing that PlayStation 5 can really do and not be
Mhm.
overburdened by it and really show you how cool the PS5 actually is. And I just feel like not very many games, if at all, were capable of doing that. But talking about how much we really enjoy Astrobot and seeing what's been going on with Concord and all of that, like, do you think that this is going to be a pivotal moment for Sony where they now have to make a choice? Or do you think that they're going to just try again with the live service model with something else?
If they're smart, they'll use this as like a learning example. You know.
Yeah.
I feel like
Um,
nothing will be learned.
So we have two
I want
completely
there.
opposing ideologies.
I want this to be a teaching moment, but
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah.
yeah,
Like the double hit of the failure of Concord, and then in the same week the success of Astro Bot. I feel like it should say something, because the players are speaking with their wallets. They're buying Astro Bot, and they've completely ignored
and their
Concord.
wallets are
Yeah.
suffocating with the PlayStation 5 Pro announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
Another perfect
Oh.
segue.
Oh boy.
Speaking
God.
of that,
Oh god.
yeah, like I really hope that this is a moment for them, because like, you know, I think part of PS5's problem, I think part of gaming's problem in general, and I've talked about it a bunch of times throughout most of the podcasts that I've done this year, because a lot of them have basically been like, wow, gaming's kind of rough right now. But like a lot of people on Nintendo Switch, they're just constantly eating. Like there's so many games coming out for the Switch, whether it's first or third. And the only problem, in my opinion, with the Switch is that it can't handle a lot of third-party stuff correctly. But all the first-party stuff is just great, and they're getting a lot of it. And Sony doesn't really have that. And Xbox tried to have that by buying a bunch of studios, and look how that turned out.
I just realized that these companies are going to get to sell all of these games again on the Switch too.
Yeah.
Yep.
What a great
any
deal.
Any game that did not work well on the Switch 1, they can sell again on the Switch 2.
The new game
Yep.
for Nintendo fans.
Yeah, we
it's
can
great.
have Pikmin 1 and 2 in 4K.
Oh,
That's the
hell
way
yeah.
it was meant to be played. You know, I think that like I would really hope, because we're seeing a lot of these games like Wolverine. We still have no idea when that's coming out. The PS5 game, we know that it got announced like 2 years ago, I think, maybe more.
Somewhere
I forgot about that.
in
Two
there.
or three, I
It-
think.
It was pretty much announced around the same time as Spider-Man 2, but Spider-Man 2 was clearly in development at that point, whereas Wolverine just looked like that was just it. That's all they had was the trailer.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing all these games take way too long to make. Final Fantasy Rebirth came out shortly after Remake, but Remake was also a 10-year endeavor. Final Fantasy 15 was a 10-year endeavor. Like, we're seeing so many problems with games being pushed through the pipeline that I feel like Sony really needs to take a look at what Astro Bot did. And I hope that players speak with their wallets. I hope it goes on Steam. I really want this thing to be on Steam, because then I want all the people on PC to play it. And once you see all the people on PC, the people who couldn't get a PS5, play that game, and after seeing all the hype that the PS5 owners have been hyping this game up for like the last couple of weeks, I want to see numbers shoot up, because then I hope Sony just kind of looks at that and goes like, we need to figure something out, because these 10-year development life cycles are not working. These $100 million budget games are not working. This $3 million game with a team of like 60 people, it worked. What happened? You know, it could just be that Astro Bot came out at a good time, because that state of play was barren until that final trailer. And I think that's why it got the most amount of attention that it did. Because you're putting up this bright, beautiful, colorful game up against Concord and God of War Ragnarok for PC. Like, nobody was interested. So, yeah, $700.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah,
Makes you wonder how they'll potentially look at Nintendo's model, because that's what they've been doing for years. A lot of multiple games that have much shorter development times, so that there's actually a pipeline of games coming out that isn't just, you know, the big ones every once in a blue moon.
yeah,
No.
yeah.
The fact that we are getting a Zelda game a year and a half after the last gigantic Zelda game, kind of insane.
Yeah.
Did not expect.
I'm glad Nintendo realized that like the top-down model isn't dead. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
And that
glad.
they're innovating on that as well.
Yeah, just like Dead Alpha Line said in chat, Astro Bot did something that nobody expected from a modern first-party PS5 title. It stood out. Not just in that direct, but I feel like just in general, that game stood out very by and large, just by being not a Sony, like what you would expect from modern day Sony. Speaking of what we wouldn't expect from modern day Sony, they decided to make a very expensive console again.
Yep.
The
Yep.
PS5 Pro is coming. It got its announcement. It's happening. We can't stop it.
It has like 5 more pixels and no disk drive.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, disk drive sold separately.
You know what? You can buy a disk drive and add that on.
And it requires an
$20
internet connection. Yay!
You can also buy a vertical stand sold separately.
That's
I
separate.
can't believe that.
Another $30. Add that right on.
I think what's hilarious about it is that it actually does have a horizontal stand built into the console. Because there are some pictures of the console on its side, and it has these like 2 little plastic nubs coming out from the side of the console. So like, for me, probably works out just fine. He's just laying on his side.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I can't imagine the PS5 couldn't just stand up on its own.
I don't think it can. I have the little stand for mine, and I have to place it vertically, like just with the space that I have.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm so annoyed that they're like, it's gonna be $30 extra. I'm like, it's a piece of plastic. Just put it in the box.
Yeah.
You know.
Put it in there.
I would think selling a $700 console, they could put a stand in there with it.
Yeah.
Give me something. Yeah, I think I feel like the PS5 Pro was such a miss, and it reminded, I think, Triss on Twitter, also like big video game talker on the internets. They had posited that like maybe the new 3DS XL was like the last big nice half step that we got.
Mhm.
But honestly, I really liked the PS4 Pro. I didn't think I was gonna buy it when they announced the PS4 Pro. I was kind of like not really intrigued. I wasn't really interested in it. But it offered so much. Like they were basically like, we're cutting down load times practically in half. We can put more zombies on the screen because here's our poster child, Days Gone. We all know what happened with Days Gone. May it rest in peace, I guess. But like it was doing all these things that basically was like, here's the full potential of the PS4. We figured it out finally, but now you're gonna have to pay extra for it. But it wasn't that much extra.
No, it wasn't that big of a price increase. Now I need to go look it up
Yeah.
and see.
I've been rocking a PS4 Pro and my only PS4 console for 7 years now. I mean, I have a day one PS4, but I bought the 500 million one for the Pro. That's the only reason why I wanted to buy it, was because it also included like double the storage space. And honestly, I felt really good about that purchase. I don't think I would feel good about buying the PS5 Pro. Does anybody here in this room disagree with that?
Someone comes out and say, I'm gonna get this day one. I'm gonna leave. No, it's like I was joking at the beginning of our reaction stream, like they're gonna say $699 and I shouldn't have said that because I would have thought they would have avoided, anything obscene like that, because that's all I remember of PS3 being announced. And they left that for the very last frames of the presentation, just on screen. They didn't say it verbally. It was just at the end, in all territories, what the price was going to be, and like $699 is going to be the price, and then it just ended. Everyone was just like, "What?"
It really did feel like one of those things where like, also it's gonna be $700. Okay, bye. we're disabling comments on the video, so please save that for another time. It was so negatively received. I remember somebody from Kind of Funny, I was watching a clip, and they had said something about like Sony could not have handled this any worse than they did, because instead of letting, they were like, the one thing that could have turned this around was let people use it, because you are just putting this on YouTube on a stream. YouTube's already compressed it, so there's literally no way for people to make a discernible difference unless they pretended to make the PS5 version worse, to make it very clear that the PS5 Pro is supposed to be sharper. But like Dana Carvey, Mark Cerny was literally up there. No, the Master of Disguise. Look them up. They look the same. I'm sorry to either Dana Carvey or Mark Cerny. But like, you know, he's up there trying to tell you like, oh yes, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is so much sharper. You can see the rocks in the distance. And I'm like, why am I paying $700 to look at rocks?
Yeah.
I just,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And that's something that I was gonna say. Like, I'm sitting when I play my PS5, I'm sitting on my couch away from my TV. I'm not like sitting up close to it. Like, okay, let me see. Can I count how many rocks are on this beach right now? Like, no, if it looks good from like a good distance, and I have a newer TV, thankfully too, I'm satisfied. But also, people are gonna spend $700 on this. They're probably gonna buy a cheaper TV. And like,
That can be a
so I mean,
disadvantage.
if you have a TV that can't like output, 4K whatever, is it even gonna matter?
No. I mean, we have
This
Hyrule
is-
Knight in chat. That's like, my TV's 1080p anyway. My setup allows for 4K. I can't get it out of the PS5 because I'm a streamer. So,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no 4K out of me. That's
Yeah,
why
unless
I
you're
use
gonna be-
performance mode.
Yeah.
This is-
That was the big selling point, right? Was the performance mode versus the whatever the other one, the
Graphic,
quality,
just high fidelity or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
and like how some games had to you had to choose between high frame rate and high resolution. And I'll be real. I played Ratchet and Clank in the high frame rate. It was fine.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fine.
That's what I always do. I'm a
It's fine.
Nintendo boy. These graphics are a luxury to me. I
Yeah.
look at them.
Yeah.
I always
What are you guys get 4Ks? I only get one.
4Ks. I am more lucky if I get one. I always do performance mode for everything because the smooth frame rate. I've at this stage of my life, I've noticed frame rates now more often. Like before, it was like 30, 60, whatever.
Yeah.
But a smooth 60, I will value over something looking a little bit nicer. Like the PS5 Pro is totally just this luxury item for the people that really want to just have the most advanced and up-to-date technology. I kind of compare it to people who like they'll trade in their iPhone every year for the newest edition. Although
Yeah.
this is like way more.
Yeah.
It's just such a weird thing now because like there's like hardly any people with TVs that can even output this PS5 Pro to its maximum potential. So
Well, like, oh, okay. I guess my box is out in the den. Need I remind you, the box of the PS5 promises 8K. I just want to throw that out
Okay.
there. We
Oh,
were
wait.
apparently supposed to have 8K televisions by now, and the
Didn't-
PS5
didn't
was
I
supposed to
hear-
use it.
That they started removing the
Yes.
8K thing from
think
old
so.
PS5 boxes.
Because who even has an 8K TV?
No.
even now, in
People
2024,
who buy PS5 Pros, I guess. But like,
Oh.
They think
it's
I'm made of
such
money.
a waste. But I also feel like, if the PS4 Pro felt like, oh, I feel like you were selling me on something, and now the PS4 Pro is the thing that's actually going to do it. That also sounds like the PS5 Pro. It's like, well, you promised that the original PS5 would do these things when you sold it to me. And the PS5 Pro is kind of your admission that you can't do this.
Are we hitting a technology cap where things are just not going to get that much better? Because we're already kind of there, right?
What's that term
Like-
again?
We're having these diminishing returns.
Yeah, law of
as far
diminishing
as-
returns.
Yeah,
And I think that's very interesting because with the Switch 2 rumors that have happened, they're saying that it's on par with maybe an Xbox Series X. So Nintendo, who decided to hold off, they decided to pull back way back in the day. They're now able to catch up because all the other companies are hitting the ceiling.
Yeah. I mean, that's
And
fair,
playing
too.
the long game.
They're
all
kind of
this
pushing
time.
it and pushing it and pushing it. Wow.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said. And what I was thinking of, too, is that there's such a difference between how people were begging for a Switch Pro year 2 of the Switch. I remember in 2019, there were rumors of a Switch Pro, and people wanted it.
Yeah.
This
Oh.
thing just got announced, and nobody wants it. And I think the main reason for it, to me, is just like the PS5, in my opinion, just didn't need it. It doesn't
No.
need the
Doesn't.
performance boost.
It doesn't.
Whereas the Switch,
Um,
I felt like needed it almost immediately.
Also, I found the prices that I was looking for earlier. The PS4 compared to the PS4 Pro.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah.
it's an old article. Hopefully, it's accurate. In 2016, the PS4 Pro was listed for $39.99, so $400. The PS4 started at $299.99, so $300. There's a $100 price difference. And correct me if I'm wrong, chat. Y'all can chime in too. The PS4 had a price drop
Yes.
because I don't think that was launch
Mhm.
price.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think the $300 was we're dropping the price, but here's the Pro, which is going to perform better, and it did perform better in my opinion. Because I did upgrade. Because my poor PS4 sounded like a little airplane trying to take off.
Oh no. Yeah,
My
that thing was
PS4
loud.
Pro did not. So
Yeah, I think that was the other thing too. Like the PS4, I had thought the PS4 launched at 400, and then when the
yeah.
PS4
I think
Pro
so.
launched, they literally like, okay, we're gonna knock down the price of the PS4. The PS4 Pro will kind of be at that base price, but this is
Mhm.
Sony kind of
Right.
admitting like this is the way that we're moving forward with the PlayStation 4. So like games will sort of utilize PS4 Pro, but because they want to sell both systems, no one single game. They're not going to make any PS. I will say this right now, and I will eat my words. There will be no PS5 Pro exclusive titles. If there will be, it'll probably just be a tech demo. But I just considering the fact that they said Ratchet and Clank can't work on something without a solid state drive and then moved it to Steam tells me that I just don't see them making anything that, because what are they going to use? What is it about the PS5 Pro that makes it so that you just can't have a game run on the PS4? Maybe it
yeah,
won't look or load as fast. Maybe it won't look as good, but like I just don't see it. Like I don't see
Yeah.
the difference there.
yeah. And games are getting too much to make. They take too long. They're too expensive. And again, we go back to the Astro Bot thing. It's like make a smaller scope game and make it look nice. Like that's it. And I think that I mean I don't know. I don't know that there's any reason to have a PS5 Pro. Like, ugh.
I think my
There's-
fear is that they've already started talking about a PlayStation 6. And even
Oh,
if
God.
if we hit that 8K, the only thing that means to me is that textures will have to be even more uncompressed, which means you're going to go from 100 gigabyte updates to maybe 200 to 300. Like, where does it stop? Like,
Yeesh.
when does high fidelity become so bad? Like, on my base PS4, I can't fit more than on my base PS5, I can't fit more than a couple of PS5 games on it. It requires you updating the hard drive, and it needs to be solid state. Games won't run if you buy an external device and hook it up to your PS5. You move those PS5 games to your external hard drive, you cannot play them. You can play the PS4 games you put on your external, not the 5s. You have to move them back to your solid state. Where does it stop?
Yeah.
I was gonna say it was made me think about what would be like next level gaming for me. I want zero clipping on like clothing items for characters. I want to see zero flicker in the shadows. I want the textures to be solid. I want no flicker. I want no clipping. I want proper hair physics, which Dragon Age Veilguard is apparently giving us. I've seen that one clip
Yeah.
of like the
Oh yeah,
hair
the
just like
Oh,
floating
yeah.
down the shoulder. It looks very, very dramatic. I'm like, but is it
So-
because hair physics are so awful? And I'm just accustomed to that. And then I finally get like proper, almost realistic hair physics. And I'm like, yes, this is beautiful. This is gorgeous. Take my money. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know.
If they're gonna do that, if they're gonna go the power route and just keep making more powerful things, then make it good. Like make it real good.
Mhm.
If that's what you're going for.
I feel
It
like
better be.
PS6 is going to have like 2 games in its entire life cycle, and people are still just going to be playing Fortnite.
Yep.
Yeah. And Minecraft.
And
Can't
Minecraft.
forget
Minecraft will never die.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think, Daniel, you were about to say something earlier?
Oh no, I'm just trying to see how much space Astro Bot takes up.
That's a good question.
Probably
Probably not
think
a lot.
probably around 100. I can't remember for sure.
Oh, it's 66 gigabytes for Astro Bot.
Oh hell yeah, that's
Just
like
like,
way
yeah,
less than
just-
Red Dead Redemption 2.
Yeah.
Make something that's more stylized, so you don't have to do all this super realistic other features in there, and then
Yeah.
that's another way to keep things a bit more
Mhm.
compressed and smaller. But yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm just like my storage is a problem. Everyone I know, we have to like buy more storage so that we can keep fitting
Mhm.
these huge games. We're just deleting a game when we're not using it, and
Yep.
that kind of sucks.
It's
Honestly,
it's so crazy to think about back in the day when somebody told us that Metal Gear Solid 4 was going to have a 5 gig install, and everyone gasped.
they
'Cause they were
lost
like,
their minds.
How could they do that? It's going to take so long. It's, you're not going to be, this is why cartridges are, maybe we should go back to cartridges. This is why Nintendo or Xbox is better. To think about that, like having a 5 gig install, especially on the PS5, that's crazy now.
Well, and then it's like the Call of Duty, like
Oh, yeah.
Alpha Lion in the chat said, it's over 300 gigabytes. I have a theory about Call of Duty being over 300 gigabytes every time. My theory is they make it so large that it's the only game on your console.
Yeah.
I
much.
All you can fit.
that works because some people will just buy a console for Call of Duty or Madden or like one game every year,
Hmm.
and that's the only game they ever play.
Just to force them into that, and then they go on and they buy microtransactions,
Yeah.
and you just make money from. You take money away from others, really,
Pretty much. I mean,
by being the only game on that console.
I gotta wonder how much like the install of Fortnite is on a PS5. It can't be that huge. It just can't.
That's a good question.
But I think when it comes to like whether we do the ultra realized or ultra stylized, like, that's ultimately I think is just going to come down to the player base. I want to live in a PlayStation ecosystem where I can play an Uncharted game or a The Last of Us game, and then I can just scooch on over to like an Astro Bot or a Little Big Planet.
Mhm.
Like I really, really want that to exist on the PlayStation platform. And I know that that's not even like Nintendo kind of has issues with that. They don't really have super realistic looking games, whether first or third party. It always kind of has to be your expectations have to be lowered in some way or another. But it would be great if I wasn't like, oh, Nintendo's where all my like every family games are gonna go, and then Sony's gonna be where all my super serious hardcore games are gonna go. I would love to have both on my Sony platform, because then I feel like one of the nicest things about Astro Bot being so popular is that this is the first time I've seen so much positive feedback on Sony online.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The short of me opening the box of the controller has skyrocketed in views just because everyone is so excited about Astro Bot. And that doesn't happen for Sony. Like, that just doesn't happen for Sony platforms. It's so hard to be a Sony creator because unless people know how to find you, everyone just wants Nintendo. So I think one of the best things that Astro Bot has ever done is kind of change the way that people look at PlayStation properties, their IP online, and it's getting people excited for some of their other games, because I've seen so many content creators are just like, they'll know Bloodborne or they'll know The Last of Us, but like they don't know Ape Escape, or they don't know like Medieval, or they don't know like this or that or the other thing. And it's like, I want more people to be happy and have like a positive outlook on like Sony properties, so that I can stream Jack and Daxter and everyone's just like, yeah, like I want another Sly Cooper, because when I streamed Sly Cooper, nobody was there.
Aw.
But maybe next time everyone will be more excited. So
Yeah.
that's kind of why I want to see more about that. Any closing thoughts or ideas from y'all about what Sony can do from here on? What are you excited about? What are you dreading over the next couple of months? We have a state of play potentially coming by the end of the month.
Oh boy. This
Uh,
was a tweet made pretty much the morning that they announced Concord was going offline. I was singing at Andy's place and he just tweeted out Concord's bad for a day, and I laughed.
I
Love
do
that.
remember that tweet. It
Uh,
was a good tweet.
but no, I really hope that they do take what's happened this month to hearts, at least a little bit. Take some kind of lesson to be learned from this, please. Whether
Mhm.
it's, you know, how you prioritize which games are in development for how much time, how much you're investing into them, and when you actually plan them to be released, as well as people really need another console that's just more expensive than the other one. And I'm offended. I try to buy physical as much as I can, and you have to buy the disc drive along with it, which almost, as we mentioned, doesn't even matter because you have to download it into your console anyways. But the fact that you have to buy it separately just so you can play those, it hurts the people that are dedicated to buying physical.
Yeah.
Like they
Yeah.
want you to be digital
Yeah.
only, and that's as we get to like whenever the PS6 comes by around, it honestly makes me wonder if they're just going to be a digital only service at that point.
They've been trying.
They have been trying for
God help
many
'em.
years. They've all been trying to move
PSP
away
Go,
from
everyone.
physical. Yeah.
Couldn't even
Physical.
play Kingdom Hearts on that game, on that system.
Dang.
Yeah. That was a deal breaker for a lot
Same.
of people.
I know Nintendo will
Unfortunate.
stay physical. I'll stay physical all the way.
Yep.
Same.
I'd do my best. Josh, Mary, anything?
I mean, I want to just echo Daniel's statement of like, yeah, I hope they take away a lesson from Astro Bot, and you know, I mean, they've never been shy about taking a page out of Nintendo's book before, you know. So what's stopping them from taking a few more pages out of Nintendo's book to fix whatever it is they're doing over there? Because Astro Bot is a step in the right direction, and I feel like yeah, again, and I think the whole gaming industry could take a lesson from it. Just downsize your teams a little, not downsize. Listen, bunch of small different teams. Like you can have the whole company, just make them into different teams and make a bunch of games.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's all I got.
Yeah.
We don't need any more downsizing in the industry.
No
No.
more downsizing.
God
Just
help
smaller
'em.
teams
Just
making a game,
distribute.
and then also these other people can make a game too.
I want them to like just kind of take a step back, be like, okay, this is why Concord failed. This is why Astro Bot succeeded. The state of the industry as a whole is fairly grim right now. Yeah. But it's an
Yeah.
opportunity to be like, okay, but what can we do for the good PR to recover from Concord, recover from the PS5 Pro, keep riding the Astrobot wave of like, what can we do to show that like we're going to start being a good thing for the industry? We're going to start making games that people enjoy. Something that I've seen a lot with Astrobot is people are sharing screenshots of characters from games they haven't even thought of in like a long time, but they got the little Astrobot version of them. They're like, oh my God, I forgot this game existed. Or people
Yeah.
are discovering,
Yeah.
games and genres because of Astrobot and how cute they are and stuff. And so maybe it's going and revisiting those series that have kind of been shelved, but the developers and the IP holders are like, no, we would love to make another game. We want to keep working on this. And maybe Sony and PlayStation can be like, could we invest a little bit of time? Could we invest some funding? We had $100 million to spend on a failed project. Could we have put that into these IPs and bring them back for nostalgia reasons? Obviously, we're older. We have the money now to buy video games, but also we're sharing these with the new generation. There's new gamers that are going to discover these and be the next us, essentially.
Yeah. I
Yep.
can't remember who said it. It might have even actually been Rebecca, but there was like a joke where it's like $100 million could have gone in to make like 20 Sly Cooper games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, like I said, Astrobot was such a nice positive thing to happen, and to Mary's point, like all these franchises that haven't had a game in forever. There's been a really popular meme or videos that I've been seeing on TikTok lately, and so they're just like a video of Astrobot next to one of the other mascot characters being like, it's been this many days since they were last in a game.
Oh my God.
And I'm just
Oh,
kind of
wow.
like, yeah, let's do it. Let's tell people we want. I mean, maybe we don't want a Jack and Daxter 4, but like, look, we have so many other properties that they can just continue to make games for. So it's just really sad that we just continue to not see them.
Nintendo. Oh, sorry. I was gonna
Oh,
say
no.
Nintendo finally did Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake.
Yeah.
Finally.
Give me
Like-
a from the ground up Jack and Daxter. Give me a from the ground up Ratchet and Clank 2, because we already got the remake of 1.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
Pretty much.
Do it.
But I think that wraps up tonight's episode. I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who was here either in chat with me tonight or was chatting with me right here on the TV screen on the computer monitor. And for all these folks, I just want to take a quick round robin and talk about where we can find y'all, what you guys are up to. Let's see. We're gonna start with Daniel. You first.
Oh man, so you can catch me on social media at Evernight Studio. I'm usually sharing a bunch of other stuff that I've been working on. I'm mostly on Good Vibes Gaming (GVG) on YouTube. Very recently did a video came out earlier today on reviewing episode IKIS for Persona 3 because I really love Persona. Glad to be able to talk about some other titles on here with y'all. But yeah, I also do a bunch of video stuff, graphic design. I've done some graphics for some of the people here on this panel, even.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Did some
I am
excellent
always
logo
available
work.
if you need.
Hell yeah.
Josh, you're next. Where can we find you? What are you up to?
Yeah. So I'm Josh Jepson on all the platforms. I primarily stream on Twitch. I love platformers, so I've been playing through Astro Bot, of course. Me and Rebecca have been playing it together. We've been passing the controller back and forth. It's been super fun. So we're doing that like once or twice a week. And then I've also been going through my RPG era for the last little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm going through all the classics, stuff, big things that I have not played before, like Chrono Trigger, which I am getting close to finishing, which is what I'm actually going to be doing tomorrow night, super late. So yeah, I'll be doing all that and continuing into Mother 3 after I'm done with that. So
Awesome.
it's great. It's been a lot of fun.
Playing the original cartridge that you bought in Japanese, of course.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And then Mary, where
Online.
can we find you? What are you up to?
I am Mary Wants a Cookie just about everywhere except Twitter, where I'm Mary Want a Cookie because their character limit sucks. Currently on Twitch, I'm playing through Dragon Age just for funsies. Yeah, Daniel's got my business card.
card.
Oh, that's
my
some
little
dude.
cookie, my little cookie card. But I make content on TikTok. I still go to events. I cover video games that interest me. Some that are up and coming, some indie games. I do fun stuff over at Zelda Universe. And I'll go ahead and plug my job as well. I would do social media for a little game called AutoForge. If you like Satisfactory, Factorio, Terraria, it's kind of in those vibes, and it's got a cute little pixel robot named Otto. He's adorable.
Cute.
Yay.
Yay.
Very nice.
And if you want to find me in the podcast, you can always subscribe to the channel at Twitch, youtube.com/laughingboylp. Watch the video version of the podcast live, including special Q&A session for those of you who tune in early. You can also find the audio-only version of the podcast on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to help fund all of this craziness, you can always become a member of the channel. That for as little as $3 a month, you can get some cool little emotes that I was seeing in chat throughout today's stream. You can also just help me get new and better equipment and just help keep this little thing running for a little bit longer. But speaking of which, because you guys hung in there for so long, we're gifting 5 more memberships. So you can try out for free. Claxton, thank you so much for the tall tier. We are going to get Samedes gets a membership. Jax Pool, Jojo Dugan, and Firakong, and Alex DJ just became a sponsor for free. Try it out. See how you like kick the tires a little bit. I will have more members only things once we start building that up. And then if you are a part of the Discord, or if you want to be a part of the Discord server, you'll get a special role there, which gets you some nice little perks. But until next time, come back here next month where we'll probably talk about something video games. I'm sure the Nintendo Switch 2 will definitely happen.
Yeah, it's gonna be announced in like 30 minutes.
Oh yeah, no, it'll probably happen. I gotta shut this thing down so I can watch the premiere trailer. But come back here next month for more video game talking. But until then, this has been another fantastic episode 50, I think, of DialogBOX, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night.
Bye.
Till we meet again.